Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we're going to do something a little different. We're not just going to talk about digital security, we're actually going to build a fortress. A digital fortress, that is, designed from the ground up to protect our most valuable information. So let's get ready to lay the foundations. I know. Sounds like a weird question, right? What could a stone castle and your email inbox possibly have in common? Well, it turns out more than you might think. See, both of them are designed to hold something valuable. Treasure, secrets, you name it. And both need really strong defenses to keep intruders out. So today, we're going to use this idea, this medieval fortress, as our blueprint for understanding the sometimes complicated world of information security. Okay, so before we even start thinking about digging moats or building walls, we have to figure out the most important thing of all. What are we protecting? In our digital kingdom, what are the crown jewels? What's the treasure that all of this effort is meant to defend in the first place? Well, the answer lies in something called the CIA triad. And no, not that CIA. In our world, this stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So, confidentiality. That's all about keeping secrets, making sure only the right people can see the information. Then there's integrity. This is all about trust, making sure your data hasn't been changed or messed with behind your back. And finally, availability. This one's simple, making sure the information is actually there for you when you need it. These three ideas, they are the absolute heart and soul of information security. And this is a really powerful concept. Just think about it for a second. Every single security measure you can think of, from the password on your phone to a massive corporate firewall, is designed to protect at least one of these three things. If you can wrap your head around confidentiality, integrity, and availability, you fundamentally understand the why behind all of digital security. All right, we know what our treasure is, that CIA triad. Now it's time to actually build the fortress, and you might be surprised where we start. Because just like a real castle, our digital fortress needs strong physical walls. I mean, you can have the most complex digital locks in the universe, but they're not going to do you much good if someone can just walk in, unplug the server, and walk out with it. You see, the first line of defense is often something you can literally touch. An uninterruptible power supply, a UPS? That's basically your backup grain store for when the power grid goes down. Fire and water detectors? Those are your watchmen yelling about a threat. Even where you put a server room, avoiding a flood-prone basement. That's just the modern version of not building your castle in a swamp. These things are the literal walls and moats of our kingdom. Okay, so our physical walls are up. Awesome. But a fortress is pretty useless if you just let anyone wander in, right? We need to guard the gates. We need a system to control who enters the kingdom, to make sure they are who they say they are, and, this is crucial, to limit where they're allowed to go once they're inside. In the digital world, this whole system is called Identity and Access Management, or IAM for short. You can think of it as the kingdom's master scroll and the royal guard all rolled into one. It's the framework that lays out who's a citizen, who's a visitor, and what keys each person gets. It's what makes sure a farmer can't just stroll into the king's treasury. And you know what's so cool about this? The parallels between the physical and the digital are almost one-to-one. A big iron lock on a door? That's your password. A guard post that stops and questions everyone trying to get in? That's your firewall, screening all the incoming traffic. And that dusty old visitor's logbook at the front gate? Yep. That's your digital access log, keeping a perfect record of everyone who's come and gone. The core principles are exactly the same. So, if you're the most vigilant gatekeeper in our modern fortress, what's your motto going to be? It's this: never trust, always verify. This is the heart of a security model called Zero Trust Architecture. It's built on a really important assumption that threats could be anywhere, outside or inside your walls, so it trusts no one by default. Every single request to access anything has to be checked and approved every single time. It is the ultimate skeptical gatekeeper. Okay, so let's imagine the worst. What happens if a really clever intruder manages to get past our walls and our guards? Is it game over? Well, not if we've built our fortress right. A great fortress has one last super hardened line of defense, the treasure vault. Even if the castle itself is breached, the crown jewels have to be locked away in an unbreakable chest. This is where the magic of encryption comes in. It's basically the art of turning our data into a secret code. With symmetric encryption, it's pretty straightforward. You use one secret key to both lock and unlock the treasure chest. It's fast, it's simple. Asymmetric is a little different, and it's really clever. It uses a public key that anyone can use to lock the box, but only your unique private key can ever open it. And we can use this same tech to do something else that's really cool. Prove a message is authentic with something called a digital signature. It is exactly like a king's personal wax seal. Here's how it works. First, the system creates a unique digital fingerprint of the message. Then the sender locks up that fingerprint with their private key. When you get the message, you use the sender's public key to unlock the fingerprint. If it matches, you know for a fact two things. It absolutely came from them, and it hasn't been tampered with. It proves both authenticity and integrity. Pretty neat, huh? But what if someone tries to sneak the treasure out of the vault? That's where data loss prevention, or DLP, comes into play. Just think of it like a magical alarm system that's attached directly to the treasure itself. Network DLP watches all the exits from the kingdom, and it screams if anyone tries to smuggle secrets out. Endpoint DLP works on individual computers and phones, stopping people from making unauthorized copies. And Cloud DLP is like a magical ward you put on treasure that you're storing in some off-site vault. So, let's take a step back. We've built our walls, we've posted our guards, and we've secured the vault. We're done, right? Well, not even close. You see, a fortress, whether it's made of stone or software, is never truly finished. It needs constant attention, constant training, and constant maintenance to stay strong against new threats that are always evolving. And that's because, at the end of the day, security isn't a project you finish. It is a continuous, never-ending cycle. You have to train your citizens and your guards, that's security awareness training. You need watchmen on the walls, always scanning the horizon for threats, that's security monitoring. You have to practice what you'll do when an attack happens, that's your incident response plan. And you have to constantly poke and prod your own walls looking for cracks, that's security testing. This cycle just keeps on turning. So what's the big takeaway from all this? I think it's that protecting our digital world isn't about finding that one magic solution, that one perfect lock. It's about building layers of defense, just like that medieval fortress. From the physical walls and the guards at the gate, to the secret codes in the vault and the never-ending watch on the walls, every single layer matters. And that brings this whole idea right back home, to you. We've been talking about this giant metaphorical fortress, but every single one of these principles applies to your own digital life, whether we're talking about your personal email or your company's entire network. So I'll leave you with a question to chew on. As you look at your own defenses, what's the weakest gate in your digital fortress?